Jayatmeshwar, Samarpan Yog of the Himalayas, Part 1. It was early in the morning, daybreak. A small stream was flowing nearby. It wasn't very deep as it was a mountain stream. All the rivers in the mountains are generally like this. As the water was flowing, it was very clean and clear. I was sitting on one side of the river, and Shree Shivkrupanand Swamiji was sitting on the opposite bank. We had been traveling on foot for the last 3 days, and I was tired. My feet were aching, and the sole of my shoe had split open at the front on the right side. This happened quite often because of the raised bone on my right foot, but this time it happened right at the beginning of the journey, and I was worried about what would happen later. I wasn't used to walking so much, so my knees had started hurting. I was also worried about what would happen in the future if this was how I felt after just 3 days. I did not know where he was taking me. I did not know where I was supposed to go. I did not know why we were going. I was just going on. I was going towards an unknown destination, and I did not know my way back. I did not even know whether I would be able to get back. The last 3 nights had been spent in the jungle without any bed or blanket, and I had not been able to sleep. My eyes were burning because I had not slept for 3 nights. We had reached a very isolated spot, and I had not seen a single person since yesterday. I did not know if I would ever see a human again. All human habitations had been left behind, and as the jungle got thicker, it was doubtful whether we would come across another settlement. That day, I realized that man is basically a social animal. That is why he prefers to live in a community and always lives in small groups and villages. And I realized in the density of the jungle that man is basically a social animal. Gurudev was sitting peacefully on the other bank with both his feet dipped in the flowing river. Behind him, small hillocks were spread out like a mountain range. There were blue clouds over those hills, and they seemed to be making us aware of what the hills could be telling us. There was a thick jungle around us. This river was also passing through the thick jungle. The jungle was so thick that the river ahead was not visible. Swamiji was calmly watching the blue hills. He must have been about 6 feet tall, with big, shapely eyes. Even in old age, his body was robust. He was clad only in a loincloth and carried a strong branch like a stick in his hand, and he usually used it to support himself. He was dark-skinned, but I don't ever remember seeing any dark-skinned person who was so attractive. His whole personality reflected purity, and one realized that his soul must also be equally holy. That is why the inner purity was so visible in his entire physical aspect. I don't know why, but from time to time, he used to sit with his eyes closed. When he sat like that, something used to happen inside me, and I felt that He was looking deep into me. Something would start happening inside. He spoke very little, but whatever he said seemed like a revelation, a divine communication. He spoke with great seriousness. There was great depth in his words, and every word he uttered appeared to be the truth. I heard whatever he said with the feeling that his words should be absorbed with his aura. Actually, he had spoken very little over the last 3 days, but whatever he said was to offer me encouragement. There was a certainty in his words. He definitely knew where we were going. He also knew with certainty why we were going there. Everything about the future was certain. He knew it, I did not. He was filled with certainty, but I wasn't, and so I was uncertain. I cannot say why, but I could only look at him from a distance. On coming closer to him, my eyes just couldn't rise above his feet, as if my own mind was cutting me off and saying, "Look according to your capacity. Your level is only to look up to the Guru's feet and stay within that limit." There was a fearful sort of joy. Perhaps I used to experience fear because my mind was not pure. I don't know what memories of the past were stored there, and due to this impure mind, I felt a sense of awe. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Do you know, there will be a day in the future when hundreds of thousands of people will yearn for a glimpse of you, for your darshan. There will be long queues of people waiting to meet you. People will come from all corners of the world just to get a glimpse of you. If someone even manages to get a glimpse, he will feel that his life has been worthwhile. They will keep hoping that your glance falls on them once at least. You will become the medium for them to reach Paramatma, God. Do you know how extensive your world is? Due to your ignorance, you had thought of your family as your world. Now, just see, I will introduce you to your world." I looked around me. There was no one there, not even a stray dog. And I thought to myself, on the one hand, he's taking me to a deserted place, and on the other, he's saying that I will introduce you to millions of people? Perhaps he's talking about my next birth. I foolishly said, "Gurudev, not even a stray dog is here. You are taking me to an uninhabited place, and you're saying that millions of people will yearn for your sight?" Gurudev remained calm and answered, "The path to reach those millions of people begins here at this uninhabited place. I am aware that you won't accept this under the circumstances today, but tomorrow this will prove true. However, when this comes true, I won't be here in this world because my work will have been completed. I can foresee the future because of my inner vision, but you cannot. There is a big gap between us. The day this gap is bridged, the Sun of Truth will be visible to both of us. Truth is always the same. It is certain. Some people realize it sooner, whereas some people need to spend longer to understand the truth. This is the only difference between us. The Guru speaks at his spiritual level, and the disciple listens to it at his level. Therefore, it isn't possible to have a dialogue between the two. And for this reason, the disciple is not able to understand what the Guru tells him at the time. The disciple's vision is limited. He can only look around him, but the Guru has an immense vision. He is aware of both the disciple's past as well as his future. There is an interval, a gap of time between the two. And until that time elapses, the disciple cannot understand what the Guru tells him. That is why I couldn't understand what he was telling me at that time. But he was sure. After a while, both of us started walking in a northerly direction. We went round the hills and climbed, and then we descended in the same way. After traveling for 5 days, we reached his dwelling. It was already evening by then. A stream was flowing down the hill, and Gurudev started descending. I followed him. After descending for some distance, we came to a small pool of water. His cave was next to it. The cave was not visible from above. On going inside, I saw that water was continuously falling, drop by drop, from the hill into the cave. And since it had been dripping continuously at the same place for several years, a deep pit had formed there. The water that collected there was used for drinking. When the level of water increased, it would collect in the pool outside the cave. That same water would flow forwards, fall, and join the stream. It was a beautiful scene. If one sat near the pool outside the cave, one could watch the sunrise. On the right side of the cave, there was a cataract where the water fell from a great height and created white milky foam as it fell. Gurudev brought roots for me, and I ate whatever he gave me. For the first 8 to 10 days, he taught me how to connect with nature. He would say, "Look at this water flowing in the stream. Look at it carefully and keep looking at it. It flows according to a definite pattern. Watch how it falls in the beginning, how it falls later, and then in what order it falls. Study it with full concentration. Nature is giving a message through it. Understand it. There is an equal rhythm in the flow. Pay attention to the rhythm. There is a tune in the flowing stream. Recognize it. Listen to that music. Listen to its message and experience the sound of the flowing stream within yourself. Then, when you go deeper inside, you will become aware that the stream, the water, is not external, but is flowing somewhere within you. What effect does that sound have on your mind? Experience that effect. Now, think about where this water must have originated and the path it must have taken to get here, and the jungles it must have passed through. Which paths this water would follow as it flows further, and what is its final destination? You will realize that not only the stream, but every drop of water will finally reach and join the sea. Every drop has to finally reach the sea. Now, slowly imagine that you have drunk that water and try to be aware of the taste of that water, and you will find that you are aware of it without even drinking it. Now, imagine that you have jumped into the water and are bathing in it. You will also become aware of the touch of water and its presence. Now, try to imagine how you feel. Repeat the experience of water on your head, on the back of your neck, on your chest. Experience it on your stomach. Experience it on your feet. And imagine that the water is entering your body from the top and coming out through the soles of your feet. He kept my attention on the flow of water for several days in this way. During those days, I became aware that I had stopped getting thoughts. I had slowly forgotten the rest of the world, and only a stream of water became my whole world, and that stream was flowing with new particles every day. Due to the concentration of my mind on new particles, my mind was slowly becoming pure. Or one can say that the mind was being washed by the presence of water in the stream. The mind became purer day by day. Some days later, when Gurudev went to the jungle to collect tubers and roots, he took me along and told me about various trees. He told me about the special qualities of the tree and explained about its fruits and leaves. He talked about the special qualities of those leaves. I could not understand everything that he explained to me, but when he did explain, I felt that he should continue talking to me in this way all the time, and I should keep listening to him all my life. There was a rhythm in his speech, a musical resonance that was similar to what I experienced in that stream. I just loved it. Sometimes I felt that what he said and what he did without speaking were two different things. He seemed to use the excuse of talking to give me information about the trees, and by using the excuse of talking about trees, he kept my attention continually on himself. I cannot tell you with certainty what he was doing, but I loved having him near me, and I felt closer to nature because of the information he gave me and could understand it better. He explained the mystery of nature's cycle, that a tree absorbs energy through its roots and then conveys the energy to the bigger branches. The bigger branches pass on the living energy to smaller branches. Then, the smaller branches convey the same energy to the bigger twigs, which in turn pass it on to the smaller twigs. These small twigs receive the energy and give birth to a new bud. Then, the bud, which continuously receives the living energy, unfolds and blooms into a flower. The same flower later grows into a fruit. In this way, on the one hand, the fruit transforms further into a seed and reaches the pinnacle of its growth. And on the other hand, the small twigs that nourish the fruit and make it grow give birth to tiny new and tender leaves. These tiny tender leaves have a beautiful reddish hue. These leaves grow bigger and turn into a deep green color. After some time, they turn yellow, and when they realize after turning yellow that they are of no use anymore, then they fall. They do not wish to be a burden on the tree, and they remain on the tree only as long as they can be of help to it. When they fall from the tree, they surrender their existence to the roots of the tree, and because they surrender their existence, they get transformed into compost. Thus, even when they are separated from the tree, they think about benefiting the tree until their last breath. Every part of the tree is involved in taking the energy forward. No part holds on to or stores the energy it has received. It always shares the energy it has received with other parts. Similarly, a sadhak should also act only as a medium and do the work. He should absorb to his full capacity whatever knowledge he has received as a result of being connected to Paramatma like the tree. And after absorbing it completely, he should distribute it, because whatever knowledge he has received is meant for distribution. Knowledge is always meant to be distributed. To accept and to absorb knowledge has meaning only if it is shared. By distributing knowledge, our attention is always on giving it to others. We are always givers, not takers, and this capacity to give helps us to progress. Every sadhak should think of himself as a small twig of a tree in the form of Paramatma, and he should distribute whatever he gets from that tree. In truth, to distribute and to share is the life of a sadhak in the true sense. One who distributes is connected in the real sense, and one who is connected is alive in the true sense. The entire mystery of human life is hidden in this act of distribution. Your sphere of activity does not involve seeing what happens to those who distribute it to, who absorbs it, who uses the knowledge properly or not, whether the person who accepts it is suitable or not. That is not your responsibility. The sadhak is not distributing the knowledge for the progress of that person. He is giving that knowledge to others because the more he distributes, the more he himself receives in return. The sadhak gives it for his spiritual progress, and by sharing the knowledge, the sadhak isn't doing that person a favor, but he is doing himself a favor. A tree is connected to nature. That is why it is absolutely necessary that the sadhak should first understand the tree if he wishes to understand nature. The entire mystery of nature is hidden in a tree. A twig requires energy only up to a particular limit, and after that predetermined limit, it distributes the remaining energy. This gives the tree a lot of joy, and by distributing its energy to small twigs and leaves, it expands its personal relationship to thousands of leaves. Thus, the number of recipients that are ready to absorb the energy increases, and many of them accept it as a medium. When hundreds of small twigs and thousands of tiny leaves consider that twig as a medium and absorb the life-giving energy from it, then it becomes necessary for the tree to provide living energy to the twig, as the life of hundreds of twigs and thousands of leaves depends on that twig. The sadhak should also develop like the twig in the form of Paramatma, on which hundreds of twigs and thousands of leaves depend. You should act as a medium and convey the knowledge you have acquired from Paramatma to thousands of people. I too found this to be the case. Man's desires are limited. He cannot attain maximum happiness through them. If he wants to be happier, he will get it only by distributing what he has received. For example, a person's meal includes 4 rotis or 4 unleavened Indian bread. He won't be happy even if you give him 100 rotis, although he should get 25 times more joy if he has been given 25 times more rotis. Thus, happiness isn't possible only through more rotis. Together with the rotis, you should also meet other mediums and distribute the rotis to the mediums who are different people. Then, you will be happier after distributing and sharing the rotis with others. If you don't find hungry people, lifeless rotis cannot give you happiness. It isn't enough for you to meet other people. It's necessary to meet hungry people. Then, those people will eat your rotis because they are hungry and you will feel happy. I too thought on that day that if I ever get a large number of rotis in the form of knowledge from Paramatma, I will search for those people in my life who are hungry. I will find them and lovingly feed them rotis in the form of knowledge from Paramatma and experience inner joy. I don't need more knowledge than that is necessary for me. Knowledge is meaningful only if it is shared. We will conclude the book reading for day 1 over here. Thank you for listening.